Welcome back. Soja is by far the US's biggest reggae act. The group, which has massive followers worldwide, but more so in South America, makes their first appearance ever in reggae country at the Jamaica Jazz and Blues Festival with a Grammy nomination for Best Reggae Album of 2014.
But I don't wanna wait today.
In 2013, Onstage accepted an invitation to Soja's concert in Puerto Rico and had a sit-down with the band's leader, Jacob Hemphill, after the performance.
When mistakes is that you and me still the only one.
Formed in Arlington, Virginia in 1997, Soja started out as a typical band of teenagers playing the music they loved. But unlike the vast majority of their peers, the music they loved the most was far removed from the US mainstream.
This reggae music.
Reggae.
But I don't wanna wait today.
We're influenced by a lot of genres of music, like every genre of music growing up, you know? But when we heard Bob Marley for the first time, it changed it for us.
I think reggae does a good job of representing all kinds of people. Before that, I listened to a lot of hip-hop and a lot of rock, and I went through my phases musically with Bobby and with Bird the drummer. But when we heard this guy, Bob Marley, we were like, dude, this is bigger than music. This guy's reaching out and touching the world. He's the symbol of freedom everywhere.
Okay.
And so I think we fell in love with him, and that was kind of it after that. At least for me, I think that was it.
So would you say you found reggae or reggae found you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess a little of both. We found it, but the second we found it, it started revealing itself to us, and we fell in love with it at that point. I think reggae found us.
So was the band always reggae?
Yes.
I mean, it was from the very start.
Yes. We took it very seriously. We would get on a train and we would go, you know, an hour away to a neighborhood where we didn't look like anybody else, and we would walk all the way to the club, and, you know, this is like 16 years old. And we'd be in there with a whole bunch of Jamaicans and a whole bunch of guys that, you know, we kind of stick out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we went to every tour. We went to Sizzla, Black Woman and Child, Sizzla, Crazy Jai, Anthony B, so many things. Luciano, Where There Is Life, Luciano, Ja Messenger, just all the fattest stuff, all the Exterminator stuff. And we were there for all of that. And I mean, we go to the Bingy House every Saturday on mopeds, drive all the way across town to the neighborhood where we're not supposed to be, and stay there till 4 o'clock in the morning and drive back. We were serious.
When I'm falling out, yo, they pull me back in.
Back then, Soja was a 5-man aggregation with its leader Jacob Hemphill on lead vocals and guitar, Bob Jefferson on bass, Ryan Bertie on drums, Patrick O'Shea keyboards, and Ken Brownell percussion, each having additional responsibilities in the band.
I'm the crew chief. They call me production. You know, I run a lot of the stage stuff, take care of those types of things. You know, the business on. You have to multitask. You can't be, you know, a successful band and musician in this time and not have, you know, different responsibilities. You got to take care of. It's not just one thing that's going to take care of it, but, you know, you got to take care of many parts and everything else that you can do for your band.
It gets better every time, you know, every show.
The band later added a horn section, an alternate guitarist.
I think it's the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, man. Maybe if I have a kid one day, that'll be a little bit bigger. But until now, that's the biggest thing ever.
And hired Jamaican Sechika Soji Hamilton as their chief engineer.
I met Soja in Europe while touring with Gentleman. They were the support act on his tour. And they're listening to me every night mixing for Gentleman. And they would come up to me and say, oh, you have that sounding like that. That's a type of sound that we need.
Today, 13 years and 8 albums later, Soja is the leading reggae act in the US with millions of loyal fans around the globe and growing.
South America, Europe, the United States,
Pacific Islands.
Virginia.
Hopefully Jamaica.
Where are most of your fans? Which of these?
In Jamaica. No. South America, we headline big time festivals.
Yes.
So 60, 70,000 people will be the big band. Hawaii, we do the biggest venues there. United States, we do on the coast, we do gigantic venues. In the middle, a little bit smaller. Pacific Islands, Hawaii's been supporting us for 10 years. 10 years, man. We done two or three music videos in Hawaii, plus a DVD. Hawaii's been doing us forever. Brazil's gonna be the next live DVD, so you can see what it's like down there.
Here in Puerto Rico, a population about the same size as Jamaica's. The band sold out this venue a week before the concert. Over 4,000 screaming fans.
Puerto Rico's known about Soja for a long time, but they keep having us back and we keep feeling lucky to be here. So now, once a year, we come here and do a show.
Looking at the shimmering stars above it, everyone reminds me of you, and everything that we've been through. Damn, everything's coming back to me tonight. What if there's more to this?
How long did it take you to get noticed?
I mean, it depends on your definition of noticed. Am I noticed now?
Oh yes. I suspect you're getting a lot of that now.
Yeah, it took a long time. I mean, it's gonna take a lifetime.
Yes.
It's never gonna stop. I'm never gonna turn around and say, okay, my music has reached enough people. I'm good. You know, we take breaks, but every time we come back, we're hungry for the same thing. I think getting noticed, if a band's doing it the right way, is like a slow angle going up. You don't really want to get noticed and then drop off. You want to kind of build. Every tour, there's another couple hundred people. Every tour, there's a little bit bigger venue. 10 or 12 years later, you turn around and everywhere you play is sold out.
What made you stay? What made you stick to it? You're musicians, you're youngsters. Why didn't you go somewhere else? Why didn't you want to try some other genre?
We always, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when we're at band practice, we play whatever, you know.
Yes.
We play whatever the hot song is at the time. Yeah, we know how to play that. But reggae to us was bigger than, well, we grew up on reggae from the 70s, the 60s and the 70s, you know. And then when Israel Vibration and Culture and Burning Spear and all that started coming, we listened to the 80s reggae. And in the 90s when Luciano and Sizzla and Anthony B were all doing it, that was what we listened to. But we always thought that the point of reggae was to change the world. And we thought that was like bigger than music. And we just, whenever we would go play live, we wanted to play reggae because we wanted to change the world.
Who are your fans? How would you define them?
It's everybody. I mean, we have a lot of, I think the way to look at it is, you know, things go in swings. You know, this is cool for a while, then that's cool. Now, if you look at the news now, what's cool is saving the earth that's dying, saving the human race from killing each other over money, human rights, looking to the future. So that's kind of what we've been singing about for a long time. And I think nowadays what you hear on the radio is not very realistic. You know? And so what we're singing to connects with certain people. And I think whoever is concerned with what we're talking about or with the kind of music that we play, that becomes a Soja fan.
I know there are no limits to your topics, your subjects and so on. Roots and Lovers Rock are at the top of your catalog. They're leading.
Sure.
Where are you most comfortable?
I like doing an album that's about 70-75% roots, which would be the main topics are environment, humans, social system, political system, what's wrong with the world, and then about 25-30% sad love songs. and that's what I've been doing forever.
Why sad? Why sad love song?
I like the sad love songs. I like when it's raining and the clouds are out, and I like the imagery and I like the feeling. And the happy love song with the sunshine is great, and that's great. But for me, the love that sticks is the tough one, the one that everybody's got to fight for, and they hold it for a while, then they drop it and break it, then they hold it for a while, then they drop it and break it, and then the chorus, they kind of give you everything in a nutshell.
It's hard for me when I think about the things that never been.
Where are you now in relation to mainstream? Where would you say your band is at this point?
I don't know. I kind of think mainstream is going to change soon.
Okay.
You know, if you look at rock and roll, you see it started as this grungy rock and roll, this dirty, rock and music, and it gets bigger and bigger, and the more rich white guys put their hands on it, the worse it gets, until it's wearing wigs and makeup and riding around in Lamborghinis with pools in the back like Warrant and Skid Row and singing about girls, girls, girls and cherry pie, and then somebody like Kurt Cobain in Nirvana comes along and puts out an album like Nevermind. And overnight, all the excess, because rock is now making so much money and these guys are so rich, it disappears overnight. Nobody listens to that stuff. And I think it's about to happen to hip-hop. Hip-hop started in the street. It was the voice of the people. It used to be about who the smarter MC was, who could outword the other guy. Now it's more about kind of like who can put out the dumbest song, who can just repeat the same thing 15 times over a hot beat. And you sing about girls, and you sing about money, and you sing about you never have to work a day in your life, and you have a jet, and people can't relate to that. And somebody's going to come out in hip-hop. It might be this dude Macklemore, I don't know. But he's going to put out a lot of songs people can relate to. And that's all we're trying to do, is make music that people can actually relate to.
I'm quoting you now, reggae is the future. Explain.
So.
You said that.
So. I think so, because reggae has never been number one. As far as music genres go, it's never been number one. But reggae will never disappear either, because as long as there's problems in this world, the people who don't have a voice in their political system, the people who don't have a voice in their community, even though they may be the majority, they need a voice. And reggae, at least the reggae I like, has always been that voice for the people, for poor people, for rich people, for black people, for white people, for every single person on this earth. I think reggae should be the voice for them like it was the voice for me, and to me, that makes it the number one. That's my favorite genre. It's in a genre all by itself. It serves two purposes. It's music you can dance to, like all other music, and it's music that's trying to change the world.
And nothing stays the same, no, everything changes. And if you feel ashamed, maybe you should change this.
While most Jamaicans welcome globalization of reggae, some are concerned that there's a takeover going on with white groups, white reggae acts.
Sure.
There's the emergence of so many acts
there is.
here in the US and in Europe and other cultures, other races, Japanese and so on.
Sure.
Where are you on that? What do you say to those who are concerned?
Part of me agrees with him. I mean, I'll turn on satellite radio on a reggae station because I want to hear Jamaican reggae music, And I turn it on and I hear me, and then I hear another American band, and then I hear one Jamaican song, and then I hear another American band, and then I hear me again. And after a while, I start to understand what they're saying. It's like, I want to hear some Jamaican reggae from a guy with a Jamaican accent singing about things that pertain to this. But, there's nothing anybody can do about what the world needs. What I sing about, I try to be as relevant as possible. And I think that a lot of what's coming out of Jamaica these days reminds Americans of American music. You hear about the rooms full of women, you hear about the piles of money, you hear about guns, you hear about... And people can't really relate to that. You can pretend to relate to it, but honestly, if you got a room full of women, a pile of money, and a stack of guns, you're probably not listening to the radio right now. You're probably off on your yacht somewhere or something. So I think we're trying to make music that people relate to, and I think people are relating to it. But things go in cycles. I mean, I look around and I see so many Jamaican bands that are coming up strong. You got Zinc Fence, you got Roots Underground, you got Raging Fire. And you got really good artists out of Jamaica that people love. You know, I mean, the whole Marley family is huge, huge. Those guys put out quality record after quality record, and people buy it, and people go see them. But they're relating to people, and they're trying hard to do that. Like Snoop Lion, for instance, right? Some people like him, some people don't like him.
Tomorrow when you wake up and realize life ain't fair.
This is a guy who's been singing about killing people, went to a guy who's singing about love and family and no guns allowed and, you know, herbs should be legalized. And that's a positive thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that's a positive thing is how much spotlight he's going to bring to Jamaica. I mean, he's going to bring a lot of spotlight. And those things are just setting up Jamaica to have a megastar come out. I mean, Damian Marley's a megastar. All the Marleys are megastars, but to have a megastar just come, when all eyes are on Jamaica, that's when your megastar shows up. So globalization of reggae, in the end, is always going to help the creator of reggae, which is y'all.
I compare you with other reggae artists, and I look at your numbers are appearing,
Big.
are looking like pop numbers.
Sure.
In terms of fan base and people who are interested in your music, obviously. So, aren't you then could be considered a mainstream, cut above the rest kind of reggae artist? And are you? Is that what you want, or would you want to look beside you and see lots of other reggae soldiers?
Yeah.
Just soldiers. I think one of
sure.
the terms you guys use in one
Sure,
of your tracks.
sure.
Beside you.
Absolutely. When Bob Marley opened the door, he got a lot of people through that door with him, and the world realized there was more to reggae than Bob Marley. I'm not saying we're going to do what Bob Marley did. I think his sons have already done a lot of that. But to answer your question of what I want, what I really want is for, I believe in the words I say when I'm up there. I believe that the earth is in trouble. I feel like the human race is living their lives backwards. I think in a lot of ways we were a lot smarter a couple hundred years ago than we are now. We lived in a way that was sustainable. Mm-hmm. Now it's all about consumption. It's not about preservation. It's not about longevity. It's about how much can I get, how fast can I get it. So the more, and I'm guilty of that myself, so the more my message gets out, the more I feel like the world has somebody out there saying, hey, and that's what I want. That's what makes me happy, is to know that that message is getting out there because I believe in it. But as far as fame and money and stuff go, I couldn't care less at all.
Yes. Talk about that, because you're the son of financial guru, some would say. Your father was an IMF representative to Africa.
Sure.
And that's an
big
institution
Jamaicans
title. Are very familiar with, the IMF.
Yeah.
There are lots of ambivalence about the IMF
I believe,
in Jamaica.
I'm sure.
And you're the son of an IMF executive.
Absolutely.
What made you sound so radical in relation to your dad?
Well, the thing is, he was radical. He went over there, and he was a guy. It was his job to make sure that the money this loan Liberia was taking from the United States didn't go into the wrong hands. And Liberia, the story of Liberia is it's where James Monroe, one of the U.S. presidents, sent slaves back to be repatriated, right? He named the capital Monrovia, James Monrovia, right? And he named the place Liberia, Liberty. But you can't just go in a place and create a country and say, so all the guys who were coming back from the States took over everything. So it's like 99% of the country is Liberians from there, and 1% is these guys who came back from the United States and took over everything because they had already learned how to do it. So it's a crazy place, and he was supposed to make sure the loan went to the true guy, and the guy got voted in 99-1. I mean, we were there when it happened. We lived across the street. This was not a bad neighborhood, you know, the palace is right there. And but the ex-American guy had already paid off, Samuel Doe had already paid off the military. So the military comes in, cuts the guy's head off, and the war starts. So my dad kind of failed. And what he was supposed to be doing was improving the dollars. And the guy after my dad went back there, printed a bunch of money, the IMF guy, so that they could pay their loan back. He just told them to turn the printers on. Paid us back. They said, great job, and Liberia's economy went. You can't just go print a bunch of money. You're finished. So my dad was pretty radical in his way of doing things. He really wanted to change the world when he was there. And there came a time for him when he didn't like the direction of things. But he with me, I mean, he wrote a lot of these songs.
Oh, that's what I was about to ask you.
With
How much
me,
does he support you?
We would sit, we sit together at lunch, and I have a piece of paper, and I ask him questions. And I say, how does the U.S. Congress work? And he says, well, ever since George W. Bush, they're allowed to accept bribes and they don't have to report them. So your congressman is the go-between between you and your president, right? You want to talk to Obama, you got to go talk to your congressman. Now imagine in front of you is a guy, his shirt says Exxon, and he's got $2 billion in his briefcase. Behind you says Northrop Grumman or Halliburton. He's got $45 million in his briefcase. You're all waiting in line to talk to the same congressman. You got $5 in your pocket. The congressman is supposed to represent you equally. Do you think that's going to happen? So he would tell me that, and then I write that, and I get an idea for a song. I do some research, and there's a song. So he helps me write a lot of this stuff. He's pretty radical himself.
Okay, so he's fully behind you with your music.
He's a huge fan. He thinks the world is backwards, and I agree with him. I think that way too.
What does Rastafari mean to you?
When I was a child, I was very religious. Not a little child, but when I was a teenager, I was finding myself and I needed a way to go. And it was great for me then because it helped me find answers to questions. But I had all the answers when I was a kid, you know. But as I got older, every year, a little bit more, the questions start coming back. And for me, life turned into a thing where it was more about finding the answers than having them told to me. So right now, I wouldn't say I really have a religion. I just got a lot of spirituality and a lot of questions, and my eyes are wide open. But Rastafari was key. I told you we go to the Bingy House every Saturday. I mean, for real, there's a real Bingy House in D.C.
Absolutely.
And it was formative in who we are. I mean, we kept the same name. Soja originally meant Soldiers of Jah Army. We kept the name because of
That's
how...
the name I was trying to remember.
Yeah, Soldiers of Jah Army. Well, because of what it helped us to become and what it helped us to see.
Where's race in your music, in your thoughts? How do you see race, the question of race?
I think it's something that all cultures have a right to their own culture, and that's fine, you know? Jamaicans have dibs on reggae, you know? Yeah. Americans have dibs on hip-hop, you know? I mean, your culture is your culture, you know? We're here in Puerto Rico. They have their culture, and that's a beautiful thing. People should never let that go away. It's beautiful. It should be held up. Traditions were meant to be passed on. You know, they teach us about who we are. It's a way to teach the next generation the things that the generation before has learned. But that being said, this whole idea of different races is stupid. I mean, if you want to have kids within your own race, that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the idea of competition existing between us over different colored skin is gonna kill every one of us. And I see it every day in every war we fight. You know, guys from Virginia don't go over to California with a bunch of tanks and blow them up because they look like them. They wouldn't do that to them.
Okay.
I think it's ruining the world. I think religion and race and these separatist ideas, I mean, every idea like that, any human rights thing, you know, whether it's homosexuals or whites and blacks or Jews and Christians or tall people and short people or fat people and skinny people. I think any kind of division based on who a person is what's going to be the death of the human race for sure.
What are some of the, what I would call the unfinished business of the band?
I'm trying to be like a newspaper. That's what I think Bob Marley was for me. And that's what I'm trying to be for whoever listens to my stuff. I want to continuously...
Creating life?
I just want to bring up some stuff that they don't show you on Fox News, that they don't show you on CNN, you know? I'm trying to bring up the stuff that I think really matters. And the way music is today, I mean, you don't need to be on MTV or be on the radio to have a following. All you need to do is talk about things or sing about things that people are concerned with. I want to keep doing that.
Where's Jamaica on that agenda, on your agenda for
Jamaica's just starting to come up right now. Yeah. Jamaica's never come up before. But I think we made a big enough wave now that it got across the ocean, and now people are maybe talking a little bit about it. We would love to play in Jamaica. We've been saving that. Because that was everything to us. I mean, the first 10 years of my life was centered entirely around, the first 10 years of my, 13 and on, was centered entirely around Jamaica. And we can't wait, we're very excited.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to their appearance at Jamaica Jazz and Blues Festival next week in Montego Bay. All right, stay with us. After the break, it's all about Rebel Salute, including a one-on-one with Sizzla Kalonji on a number of issues, from ganja, gays, politics, visas, and more. What Leroy Dunn Smart told us after he was booed at Rebel Salute. All coming up. We'll be back.
As a matter of fact, there is an aftershock. When come ground, my bed and my pillow was a rock.